Hello and welcome to the Times Table Rockstars virtual parents meeting. My name is Miss King, and for those of you that don't know me, I teach in Happy Down. I'm on the senior leadership team here at Aston, and one of my job roles is maths subject leader. So if you already have a child at Aston, an older child, you may well already know all about Times Table Rockstars, and this will just be a case of refreshing and recapping. Or if your child is in year 2 for the first time, you've not had a child further up the school before, this may well be new information for you. Okay, so what is Times Table Rockstars? We use Times Table Rockstars as part of our home learning, our homework policy here from year 2 all the way through up until year 6. Because we believe knowing times tables is really fundamental, important knowledge that children need to have secure for their mathematical understanding. It underpins so much of what they do in maths, so having those facts at their fingertips is really beneficial for all different types of mathematical learning, such as fractions and problem solving. Okay, so Times Table Rockstars is basically just a really fun way of helping children to learn those facts as they journey throughout the school. So to be a Times Table Rockstar, they need to answer multiplication facts up to 12 times tails in less than 3 seconds. And that sounds incredible, but actually we have lots of children last year, even in year 4, they were able to do that. So that's the aim by the time they leave the school in year 6. So Times Table Rockstars is a fun online game which helps them to accomplish all of this. It can be done on a laptop, a PC, an iPad or a phone, and it's to be done at home as part of our homework policy, but also at school as well. Okay, so why do we use Rockstars at Aston? Well, times tables are important for accuracy and speed, and it makes it easier to do harder calculations if they know these easier facts. It's a fun and challenging way to go about doing this. It's personalised so that each child is working on the individual targets that they have, and it's assessed so that they build upon where their starting point is. So it's personalised and individual to every single child. Another reason why we use it, other than being really fun and engaging, is to help prepare children for the multiplication times table check in year 4. This is something that happens in June of year 4, and it's a government check that takes place online. Children have 25 questions to answer, all multiplication questions. They get 6 seconds to answer each question and 3-second gap in between each question. So playing this game, Times Table Rockstar games, from year 2 onward is a way of preparing them for that check. But that's not the sole reason we do it. We do it for so many other reasons. But obviously it does help when they come to do that check in year 4. We also don't mention the check to the year 4s. We don't want to cause any unnecessary stress or pressure on them. They won't even know they're doing it. They'll just think it's another game that they're playing. We've had really good feedback from using Times Table Rockstars last year from the children, the parents and the teachers, so we're really excited to be able to use it again this year. At some point this week, or possibly early next week, your year 2 child will bring home their login details. So to log on, you need to go to the Times Table Rockstar website, which as you can see is on the screen here. Type in our school name and then enter your child's username and their password. You can also download the app free from the App Store. And if you use the website and the app, children will still be able to access their account. It doesn't matter which one they're using. If you have any problems accessing a device or Wi-Fi internet connection at home, please do let me know and we can make provisions here for them in school. Perhaps they could practice at a lunchtime with a chosen friend or a break time. We can work out a way so that they are able to access this learning as well. When should my child practice? So as I've mentioned, this is part of our homework policy. So we do expect all children to be using Times Table Rockstars as part of their homework. We don't set any other homework in years 2, 3 and 4 for maths. This is solely their maths homework because we believe it's so important. In year 5 and 6 they do get some additional maths homework as well, but this is how important we think it is. They don't have any other maths homework to do. So we recommend playing a little and often approach at home, maybe 4 times a week for about 10 minutes at a time. This is proven to be so much more effective than drilling for hours on end at a time. And children will also have a designated time slot in school to practice once a week for around 20 minutes as well. Okay, so when children very first logged into Rockstars at school, they were asked to choose their Rockstar name. So you can see in my example here, Kristen Hart. And that kind of keeps them anonymous, so that when they're playing against other children or when they're on any class leaderboards, other children won't know who they are unless, of course, they tell their friend what their Rockstar character is called. And here you can see the little avatar in the left-hand corner. This is the most exciting bit about Rockstars. As you can see, I've clicked on the shop logo along the top toolbar and it's taken me to the shop. Children, when they play the Rockstar games, can earn coins, and this is of course pretend money. They can then spend the coins in the Rockstar shop. They can use the coins to buy things for their avatar, like different backgrounds, different hairstyles, different accessories, different instruments, makeup, all that kind of thing. And the more coins they earn, the cooler they can make their Rockstar look. I've also seen this teaches children a lot about budgeting as well. I often hear children say they're saving up to buy a rainbow wig or they're saving up to buy a drum kit. So it adds lots of fun to using the app and the website. So how does Times Table Rockstars work? Well, when children first log on, when they logged on at school this week, they played their first gig. So they were asked lots of questions, multiplication questions, so that the computer could generate a baseline assessment of the child's starting point. So obviously in year 2, children haven't really been taught multiplication yet as such. So we're expecting most children to be starting on learning their 2 times table. Sometimes children have acquired more knowledge and understanding of that, and that's great. So it's really good at individualising and personalising where children are at and assessing that baseline. From that initial first gig, the computer system, it's really clever and it works out what questions children need to work on. So often for a typical year 2, it may well be that they're starting with their 2s. So whenever the children log on and they play on the garage option, the questions they are asked will be questions aimed and targeted specifically at them and where they are at on their baseline assessment. So if when I, for example, took this, my slowest times table was my 7s. It's a tricky one. So my baseline came out that 7s was my slowest. So then when I play in the garage, it's all 7 times questions that come up. And their players get 10 coins per question for that. So it's a really good way of earning coins for their avatar, as well as, of course, practicing those all-important times table multiplication facts. Often parents say to me, oh, it's asking the same questions over and over again and it's not moving on. It will do that in Garage. It will literally ask them the same question over and over again until they're answering it really, really rapidly and really, really quickly. Only when they're answering it correctly and accurately at a quick speed will it move them on to the next set of times tables that they need to work on. If, however, they play in Studio, it will ask them anything up to 12 times 12. And 12 times 12 is the way that you can get Rockstar status, as you can see here. You start off at a wannabe if you're taking longer than 10 seconds per question. It works you out an average, all the way up to being a rock hero for a second or less. And actually last year we had a few children, even in year 4, achieving that, which was amazing to see. So that's playing in the studio. The sound check is a game we play a lot in year 3 and 4. There's nothing to say you can't play it in year 2, but that mimics the government multiplication check I told you about earlier. So it's 20 questions with a 5-second time limit, and the children get 3 seconds in between each question. So it's a good way of practicing that, ready for the times table check in year 4. A good way to track your child's progress is to click on the avatar icon and then click on stats, and it shows you a handy heat map so you can see how your child's getting on. The colours indicate how quick they are, with green being the quickest, red being the slowest. Grey just means they've not been asked that question enough for the system to be able to generate a time just yet. So that's a really good way of looking at a glance to see which questions children need to work on. Teachers can of course view all of this data as well. We can also see how often children are playing at home, and we can see who's playing more. We can see who's getting quicker at answering the questions, as well as how they're progressing through the tables, and we do monitor that regularly. There are some other features. If you click the avatar logo on the top toolbar, there's some different settings. So you can hide the score, you can enable or disable sound effects, and also hide the scoring, because I know that can be quite distracting for some children. You can also change the way that the keypad is orientated if that's going to help your child too. Sometimes, especially with younger children, they find it easier to shout out the answer and an adult types it in for them. And if you want to practice that way, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Lastly, of course, fluency and rapid recall of multiplication facts are essential and really important, but also knowing how to use and apply these facts and knowing what these facts actually mean is really important too. And you can do this with your child just in day-to-day life. So for example, I've got my chocolate bar there, and this pattern shows, we call it an array because it's organised into columns and into rows. So I could say to my child, how many squares of chocolate are there, without counting all of each square? So they could say, well, I can see there are 3 rows and there are 5 squares in each row. So 3 times 5 is 15. But then you could have the conversation about, if I looked at it the other way, then you could say there's 5 columns with 3 in each column. So that's 5 times 3 is 15. You're looking at the inverse. Multiplication is commutative. It can be done both ways. So then you'd link it to the multiplication facts. 5 times 3 is 15. So I also know 3 times 5 is 15. You could look at groups of. So how many donuts have I bought? Well, I can see I've got 3 boxes with 4 donuts in each. So 3 lots of 4 is the same as saying 3 times 4. 4, 8, 12. I've got 12 donuts. So you can have these conversations all the time, and it helps children to see the relevance of their maths in everyday life. Another example could be, how much money have I got? If I've got 5 10p coins. This one's slightly trickier because they need to know that that 10p represents 10 1p's. So it would be easy for them to say, oh, there's 5p, but it's actually 5 lots of 10. So 5 times 10p is 50p. So they're applying their use of multiplication to working with coins and working with money. Or this reasoning example, which is even trickier, you could say, what would give me more eggs? 2 boxes of 12 or 3 boxes of 6? And then they have to reason between the two. Well, I've got 2 lots of 12. 2 times 12 is 24. Or I've got 3 lots of 6. 6, 12, 18. It'd be the 2 lots of 12 that would give me the most. Thank you for listening to the presentation. If you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask us. Please look out for your child's login, which should come home this week, in their book bag or reading diary, so they can start playing Rockstars and earning those coins at home. So do ask us if you've got any questions, and thank you once again.